Okay. Hi, I'm Jackson. Hi, I'm Jackson. These are my students today. You want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Laura.
I'm Mohammed.
I'm Rob.
I hoped I would look like the obvious professor, but Mohammed has even a nicer shirt than me, so I've been usurped. Anyhow, I've given them all some paper and pens, so if they want to take notes, they can. There's an apple in the middle of the table, really just for effect. And I've chosen to do a lesson on effective paragraph construction. So I wanted to start just by asking you guys if you think there are rules or guidelines you know of or you use that make an effective paragraph.
Sentence variation.
Okay.
It's important to have a topic sentence.
You think so?
And a sentence that transitions the paragraph into the next one at the end.
Do you think it's different if you're writing something other than an essay? Say you're writing a short story, you still need a topic sentence, a lead out.
I think it can vary.
I wouldn't say like topic sentence so much for that kind of creative writing, but maybe a hook.
Okay.
I've always heard like 5 to 6 sentences a paragraph.
Yeah, people say
Yeah.
2 to 3 sentence paragraph is no good. Okay, well I have some general rules I'm going to read out that I've heard, and then we can talk about whether we think those are sufficient or not. People have said that a paragraph should stick to a single idea, so it should have unity, that's the principle. That it should be coherent, this is number 2. This is kind of the same thing as number 1 though. If it's sticking to a single idea, then it is coherent, you're able to follow it all the way through. Third, that it should be adequately developed. Some paragraphs that I've seen will just present a bunch of ideas almost like hard peanuts that you can't crack because they because there's no nutcracker. No, because they're not explained. They just remain little crystals unopened to the reader. So instead, the paragraph should say, the so-and-so believes that blank and this is why, and explain it to you. Also, a thesis sentence or a topic sentence is suggested. That's the 4th rule. Do you think these are sufficient in all cases?
I think it depends what you're writing about. Because as Laura said, in creative writing, I think the structure is a little different. But if you're writing a book report, for instance, I think it is important to divide your essay up by paragraphs with a central theme for each paragraph.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mom?
I think all of them can apply except for the thesis sentence. For like even in creative writing, I guess like being able to be sure that you've adequately developed whether character or like setting or scene, and then being coherent in it.
Yeah, I agree. I get the sense when I look at them that there's something deeper beneath them, some bigger concern, and these are just kind of arbitrary, semi-arbitrary manifestations of it. So, I wanted to give out a few sample paragraphs that I wrote, or that I found, I should say. And maybe if we read through these and talk about them, we can get at a better idea than these 4 principles that I read out. Would you read the first one, Laura?
Sure. From what I've read of him to get by in this class, Immanuel Kant seems to think it's important for individuals to attain a sort of logical coherence. It's like how in the movie The Matrix, when Morpheus opens his palms with the 2 pills to give to Neo, it wouldn't have made any sense for Neo to have taken the blue pill. That would have gone against everything his character stood for. But sometimes it's important for individuals to go against everything they stand for. That's how they learn and grow. Once, my younger brother's friend was chasing him around our yard with a toy plastic bat, trying to beat him up. It wouldn't have made any sense for me to have stopped my younger brother from getting beaten up, because that's what I usually do to him. But instead, I yelled at his friend and saved him. And that's how I learned and grew. In the next paragraph, I want to talk about how Friedrich Nietzsche learns and grows from going against everything Kant stood for.
So, how does that paragraph make you feel as a reader? Are you being led along? Is it nice treatment, or is it kind of rude? Do you not know where the author's going?
Actually, I have to read it again. I have a hard time hearing things that I read out loud and actually
Well,
processing.
Thanks for reading. What about you?
It left me pretty scattered. I think, I could understand the transition from the Matrix to the Brother. Well, actually, the Brother one confused me a lot. Like, I could understand the Matrix, but then it just got really confusing after that.
Yeah, for a paragraph about logical coherence, it seemed a little like a whirlwind had gone through it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's an effective opening sentence. I don't think you would, depending on what this was for, I wouldn't start a sentence with, from what I've read of him to get by in this class.
That's a bit of humor.
But it does add some humor, it adds some lightness.
Yeah.
I don't like the closing sentence either in the next paragraph. I don't think that's necessary, but it's attempting to transition, but it's not really working in kind of an effective way. I think.
Do you think that's a cover-up? Because there wasn't enough leading throughout the beginning section of the paragraph, the person at the end had to patch it and say, "Okay, here's what I'm about to do."
Yeah.
Really jarring.
It's not a very nuanced transition, and yeah, I agree that that it needs a stronger opening thing. But I do think that for the personal anecdote, I guess depending on what this paragraph is intended for, is effective just in metaphor, and that can be cool instead of talking about a bunch of things really explicitly, trying to relate it to the reader is an effective thing.
Okay.
The example, that's the other thing I would say. The examples are kind of, using these examples, they work. They allow the reader to relate.
So cool. They do pull in. There's some validity to the experience this mysterious person has had with the trauma of the younger brother. Can we read the second? Would you, Ron?
For decades now, scientists working in the field of climate change have tried to understand the causes of climate change in order to come up with a means of hindering its advance. Some have proposed systems of carbon cap and trade. Others have noted their affirmation for models of electric or solar-powered cars. Still, others have said that we should simply stop anthropomorphizing.
It means to make into a human.
Oh, okay.
To characterize as human.
Polar bears already. As the polar bears are living out their apocalypse on a lost vessel. And yes, it's true. There are indeed some scientists who don't believe that climate change has its cause in human endeavor. But frankly, that's just stupid. And I won't read it in this essay. If you decide that you need more information on their belief, please visit the following page, www.polarwhocares.com.
How does that one make you feel? If you were conversing with someone who was just saying this to you instead of reading it on paper, what would you think of that person?
I thought the last one was really weird. It was like you can't have they're not presenting both sides of the argument properly, in a way. It's just talk about all the stuff that supports them, but they're ignoring a whole host of information that would hinder their argument.
Okay. So is it unfair to? It's unfair to the other side.
Right.
Yeah, I think that it starts off as kind of like a clear paragraph and informational, but then it takes a turn where, as a reader, I just feel kind of I feel like whoever's writing this doesn't really care about finishing the paragraph.
Yeah.
It starts off pretty strong, and then it's well, I guess you don't actually care about what you're writing about. I don't know.
Which makes me feel, if I'm reading it, like the person doesn't care about me.
Right. Right.
What do you think?
I struggled with this in the beginning. It gives some good examples, but I think it's a little bit scattered, and I would never include the last sentence in my own writing.
Smart.
I think when the person says, but frankly that's just stupid, it really makes me wonder if this is an academic paper or not.
Mm-hmm.
so it loses its tone too.
Right.
It's also another, well, like you said, how when the writer doesn't care about what he's writing about, he doesn't care about the reader, and that's that address to the reader, but frankly that's just stupid, is like not even giving the reader enough time to even make up his or her mind about it.
Mm-hmm. I feel that there's no space for the reader between those two phrases to think anything. Would you read the last one?
Sure. So in the final analysis, what's the difference between tap dancing and walking wearing boots on a marble floor? Both actions result in loud clacking noises. They both draw attention to the person doing them. Furthermore, both actions are somewhat performative. Nobody has ever walked wearing boots on a marble floor who didn't at least secretly want to be looked at. But unlike walking wearing boots on a marble floor, tap dancing is a determined form of art that requires hundreds of hours of practice. It's rhythmic, it demands coordination, and since loud clacking noises aren't its only goal, a person who's tap dancing has much more to lose from falling than does a person walking wearing boots on a marble floor. Tap dancing is thought of simultaneously as an exercise and an art, and it deserves its reputation.
Thanks. Any thoughts? Is this effective?
I thought there could be some variation in the word choice.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the flow. It seems to be a bit repetitive. The use of marble floor and walking wearing boots.
That was hard to say.
But it does have a nice structure to it, though I struggle a little bit with what it's arguing about. I think that's my main criticism.
Yeah, it's weird.
It says walking wearing boots on a marble floor 5 times.
Say it 5 times fast. It's the extinction of your power. Yeah, I agree with that. However, for me reading this paragraph, unlike the other two, I feel I'm being led in a way. At least the author is saying, at least the author is listing a few thoughts I might be having and considering them, and then going on to address them.
I felt there was more coherence to this one, like a lot. There was a better flow as far as like setting it up in a way. And then first I'll start with like the similarities, and then at the end, the difference, and then go into why tap dancing deserves its reputation. Then I feel I should explore that in the next paragraph.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Well, that's that. I wanted to walk through these kind of to show that my real idea of the one principle underlining some of the others is that a paragraph has to be mindful of its reader. It has to treat its reader nicely and say, oh, this is something the reader might not know, so I'll have to be willing to talk about it, or I'll have to show the reader where I'm going to keep his or her interest, so on and so forth. And that's also what the chant is about. So, sorry now for the excruciating part. I'm going to start a clap for us, and then if you can repeat after me, we'll get a little something going. Muhammad, by the way, is a rapper, so...
Just gonna put me on the spot here. Like,
No,
what's a
no,
rapper?
no.
Can't
You
rap.
don't have to, unless you want. I was just going to say we're drastically underusing your talent. Here we go. So repeat after me. A to B.
A, B,
A to speak.
A to speak.
Mind the reader.
Mind
I'm the reader.
Basically.